Welcome back to Chasing News. I'm your host, Bill Spadia. Tonight we've got another story, this one about NJ Transit. An explosive hearing in Trenton last week. Former member calling the agency completely incompetent and fraught with all kinds of corruption and patronage. For more on this, Alex Adan.
NJ Transit has turned into a runaway train. That's according to the agency's own former compliance officer, who testified in front of the New Jersey State Legislature on Friday.
Although my tenure was extremely short in terms of time, I witnessed more occurrences of agency-wide mismanagement fueled by ignorance, arrogance, hypocrisy, incompetence, patronage, cover-up, and corruption than one can reasonably expect to experience throughout an entire career.
Todd Barretta was hired in April to help the agency comply with federal rules, regulations, and guidelines, but was ultimately fired in August for what he says was repeatedly raising safety concerns with top NJ Transit management. Barretta told a legislative committee hearing on Friday that he was told to tone down criticism in his reports and even not to put certain things in writing as part of what he says is large-scale problems at the agency. Assemblyman Michael Patrick Carroll sits on the committee that heard Barretta's testimony, and I talked to him on Monday to get his reaction to all this.
New Jersey Transit isn't taking the problem seriously, because someone, if these allegations are true, should have been fired. A lot of someones should have been fired.
Also at the hearing, reports of a slew of lawsuits for racial and sexual discrimination against and by NJ Transit employees that go back as long as 2 decades. Now, Barretta told legislators that in addition to the delays, crashes, and funding shortfalls, NJ Transit is hobbled by a cabal of politically connected insiders loyal to Governor Chris Christie, who owe their positions and allegiance to the governor, and according to him, the rest of the agency lives in fear of them. New Jersey Transit Executive Director Steve Santoro rejected Barretta's criticisms and said the employee was actually fired for excessive misuse of a company car, not for making his criticisms known. Neither Barretta nor Santoro were available for additional comment on Monday. For Chasing News, I'm Alex Adan.
Thank you, Alex. All right, I want to bring in someone who was there on the ground at the hearing, member of the New Jersey Assembly, Gordon Johnson. Welcome, Assemblyman Johnson. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me today.
We've heard this time and again of how completely incompetent and corrupt NJ Transit is. Were you surprised to hear this testimony?
The testimony I felt was a bit surprising to me. The racial discrimination lawsuits and the lawsuits coming out of that organization for gender bias, I thought was, and the suits that were settled, the amount of money that we paid out in this litigation, I felt was extraordinary.
So who do you blame if you weren't shocked that this was going on?
Well, New Jersey Transit works for the governor, so therefore.
So is this Governor Christie's fault?
Well, he's the one at the top.
But what fault do you take? I mean, these committees have been established to maintain and monitor NJ Transit, and we've had nothing but report after report of delays, incompetence, bad management. How much responsibility should you take?
I'm not so sure that the legislature is at fault, but yes, we're there. Keep in mind, the governor is the ultimate person, the ultimate office when it comes to how you're going to prioritize a budget and spend the money.
Steve Santoro, he's been under fire, but would you fire him?
I don't think I would fire him. I would say that from the information I've received from these 2 hearings I've been to, that I've attended.
Gordon, would you fire anybody? I mean, clearly there's somebody that ought to lose their job at NJ Transit.
I hate to use the word fire, but it's a culture there. As you said, it was patronage going on, people who are not qualified to be in positions that were in these positions making lots of money.
That's a nice way to put that we've got a bunch of political hacks running NJ Transit. We're using the hashtag #SackTheHacks. Assemblyman, thank you. Appreciate you joining us today on Chasing News.
Thank you.
All right, I want to bring back our panel. Laura Nanos, thank you for being here. You're a lawyer and a legal analyst. Got a lot to talk about with this NJ Transit thing. Frank Luna, you are the District Chief of Staff for Congressman Tom MacArthur. Thanks for sticking with us. And Wayne Smith Associates, and the former mayor of Irvington. All right, guys, Laura, I want to start with you. I'm using the hashtag #SackTheHacks. It seems to me that testimony after testimony, that report after report, NJ Transit has just become a place where people park their political favors. And someone gets a nice 6-figure job, and now you've got, I mean, we've had deaths on NJ Transit.
Yeah, this is serious business. It is. If there was ever a time to sack the hacks, This is it. We have an administration in New Jersey that is rotten from the top down, but the governor is not the only person to blame here. You got the executive director of New Jersey Transit, who is obviously a serious problem.
Wait, do you buy this? I mean, was this not, I heard you say it earlier off the air, disgruntled employee just taking it out on his bosses?
Well, he was certainly there a short period of time. But let me just say this, New Jersey Transit has a board of directors too that also has oversight responsibility. And if you look at it, is there enough commuters on that board? Is it a diverse board that figures the region? The different people have a stake in the ridership. While we're debating all this, the average rider wants his bus to come on time and his train to come on time. So when you look at the physical plant, what happened in Hoboken was a travesty. But a lot of Jersey Transit's problems really stem from what's happening in the New York situation where people are trying to get in back and forth MTA and the New York responsibility. So I think you're going to have a new governor. And a new governor should clean house, start fresh, whoever that person is.
Is there any shock to you that you've got patronage jobs, six-figure jobs of politically connected people? This is not the place to park your political connections.
It is a political environment, but you got to be able to do the job. So patronage isn't all bad as long as the person has the qualifications and is performing.
Frank, what do you think of that? Political patronage? Isn't that how we got into this mess?
It's big government at its worst, yet again. And all too often we see politicians, and no offense to Assemblyman Johnson, but kick the can to somebody else. I refuse to fire this person, I refuse to fire that person. That person's responsibility, not mine. And when are these politicians going to get in a room, sit down, and talk about how to make things better? That's all anybody in the barber shop is thinking about.
They just want to get to where they're going.
This isn't big government, this is bad government. The problem here goes far beyond just the idea of patronage. This is a bad organization run in a bad way, and then when someone steps in, even though it's a person there for a few months, and tries to raise some concerns, what do we see?
All right, guys, I got to leave it there. I think it is absolutely time to sack the hacks. Wayne, Frank, and Laura, thank you for being with me. It is time to bring in meteorologist Dan Zarrow with your weather.